Hey everybody, it's Mike over here in Growtopia, and today is January 14th of 2025. Now it's a Tuesday, and like I've said before, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays I water my plants if they need them. But I like to give them a little water because there's a stretch between when they need it and when they don't need it, and there's always that little in between you don't want to chance. So one of the things we're going to be looking at is, because it's the 14th, we have a lot of different plants that today is the day of their germination stage, which is basically tomatoes. So we're going to check the tomatoes shelf by shelf, all the other plants, and then update what we need in the Bible and see what we need to regrow or to start to regrow. Now, a lot of plants, even though they say 14 days, they say 7 is the first one, 14 is the next one. I like to give them a few more days, right? So today's Tuesday, so I'm not going to worry about reseeding any of the seed pods that didn't take off until like maybe Saturday or Sunday. And the reason for that is sometimes they just need a little bit longer grace period for them to get growing for whatever reason. If it comes by on Saturday where they didn't grow, I'm going to cross out that line saying no germination extended to this date, and then put in another entry with new seeds. Now, if it comes to a point where I go through that whole seed packet, now it could be either the seed packet's bad, meaning the seeds that are in it are bad, or it's the seeds themselves. You know, not every seed that you buy online is legitimate. And now a lot of these companies that I grab the seeds from are legitimate companies. So for them not to really be taking off, there's obviously another underlying issue. And that underlying issue would obviously have to be is that they just were bad batch of seeds. That's why it's great when you start collecting your own seeds, you can get away from buying the seeds. So let's get to looking. Now we're still in January, of course, you know, which is, you know, we got the peppers, and obviously we got the tomatoes. February, you know, we started some of the eggplants early. But, you know, February we were looking at, we got like celery, lettuce, onions, chives, strawberries, parsleys, beans. And we got kale as well. You could do that in late February. You could start up another batch of tomatoes. So I don't have to basically worry about, I can start another batch next, you know, on Saturday or Sunday. Or I can even extend them down the line even to March. But I'd rather not do that in March. I'd rather try to get them growing quicker as we're going along here. Because in March we got more tomatoes, we got borage, we got the marigolds, we got basil, cauliflower, cabbage, you know, all the brassicas, which is the cauliflower, the cabbage, the broccoli, the kale, and Brussels sprouts. Got lettuces, calamine. We have cilantro, Swiss chard, and then like mid-March to early April, you got the spinaches. And then so on and so forth. We're not going to get too far in advance from here. We just want to go to where we are currently. Where did we leave off at here? It's funny how some of them, like the Black Prince, germinated in by 7 days. Some did, some didn't. So now we got up to the line of where our plants are. It is humid in here. Wow, is it humid in here? Hey, caramba. Alrighty. Grab my handy dandy chair as I put it on my foot. It's always a good start to any video. Grab that. Wipe some of this water down here. First tray coming out of shelf 16, and you're going to start, as you guys watch the videos more and more this year, you're going to start seeing the tomatoes are actually going to be getting bigger and bigger. Now in the book, the way that I did them last year was that once they hit the top of the lids, they went from here into the greenhouses. Of course, when I started my tomatoes last year, I didn't start them this early, so I'm like trying to figure out where we're going to be going with the next stage of these tomatoes. And basically what I've come up with is that just like the yellow plums that are in the orange planter, these guys are going to end up doing the same thing. They're going to go into a planter, and then they're going to go back onto the shelf where they were, and they're going to stay in their pods, and I'm going to try to equally space them carefully, within a tray, and then they're going to get watered and so on and so forth. And we're going to try to grow them in the trays, in the orange planters, where they were, which is great because we can actually put like 3 orange planters in one spot, so we can really hold a lot. I just don't know how many plants yet I can actually stick into one orange planter, because you gotta remember, the more plants we have, the more nutrients and water they're going to extract out of the soil. So you gotta be really careful, because you might end up actually killing your plants by doing a transfer like that. And then you got to eventually transfer them out of that into the greenhouses, and then from the greenhouses out to the field or wherever you want. I like going to the greenhouses just because it gives me another option to extend things, because as they go into the greenhouses, they'll get acclimated to them, and it's going to be a little bit of cooler temperature than in here, and then they'll stay in there for like, let's say, a month or so. Say for like about a month or a couple weeks. And then from there, I'll take them out, and then they'll go outside into the orchard where all the tomato strings are, and then that's when they'll just take off. So that's usually around like April. So April is going to be here before you know it, so you really kind of want to make sure you're kind of keeping things moving along at a decent pace, otherwise you're never going to keep up with anything. So I'm going to run down the list here of what we have, make sure what we have is already written down, and then if there's any newbies, then we'll throw them on here. Black Prince is already sprouted. We have white beefsteak, which is already sprouted. Correct. We got Mortgage Lifter has sprouted. We have Super Sauce. That was one that has not sprouted. It's kind of interesting, like just one row did not sprout. I've never planted Super Sauce before. We also have the large red cherry that didn't take off at all. We have the Floridian that took off. We have the yellow plum for my neighbor, neighbor, customer, whatever. We got the Big Mama tomato. We have the 2024 mix. That was my blend of what I grew, and I threw them all together in one pod. It's like 20 some odd tomatoes that I just throw all the seeds together. So it should be really interesting. I can't wait for that one. See what seeds made it to the pod. Then we have the experimental red, white, and blue cherry tomatoes. They're doing great. I can't wait to see which cherry tomatoes actually came up. We have the 100-pound tomato, which I don't know why I wrote it down here. I might have wrote it down by accident, but there was absolutely nothing there. There's nothing dead that was there, so I think I just wrote that down by accident. San Manzino has already been sprouted. The yellow pear. Why am I seeing yellow pear? Oh yeah, that's because the yellow pear is in another tray. Yes, that's in tray 17. What are we missing from here? Oh yeah, we missed the Chinese tomato, which is here. And that's it so far. Okay. So, yeah, again, I've had people ask before, how do you know when they need to be watered? The best is you just take one of the pods out and you just kind of feel the bottom of them. And I wouldn't say they're moist. They're not moist at all. They're a little dry. So because they're not inside the tray, they don't have the tray top on them like they used to, they're going to dry out a lot quicker. So that's where you want to kind of start watering them a little bit more than you were before, because they're going to start drying out a lot quicker. Now that you got the plants in here, like I've said before, you got to be really careful when you're watering. You don't knock them out because they are delicate at this stage. And if you have lack of germination, that could also be, that plays another role as well. So if you're having that issue, then it could be that there's just not enough water getting to the plant. Excuse me guys, I'm trying to run through here. Cool. I'm gonna need some more water soon. Alright, put these guys back, these guys are done. Here's our next tray. I'm going to attempt to sneak out of here somehow and get some more warm, not warm, but room temperature water. Turn that heat down a little bit. It's like a fucking sauna back there. Holy shit. That time, but I put it down more. Huh? Less than that time, but I just put it back down more. Not bad for November. It's like it's 72 degrees in here, and the humidity is 20%. So I'm starting to, I'm having hot flashes over here. Oh man. So this is what we got going on so far in this one. This is a mix of different stuff in here, other than just tomatoes. There's peppers, there's eggplants in here. So I think the peppers are in this one. No, the peppers are by themselves, but there's eggplants in here. So there's a lot of different growing going on in the different stages that are in here. So I'm just going to turn it to me, and I'm going to run down the line like I did before. Where we left off before, there was the yellow pear tomato, which is in this tray, which is on shelf 17. We got the yellow pear. Then we have the yellow brandy wine. Still has no germination to it. We have the bicolor cherry. Still no germination. We have the hillbilly tomato. Still no germination. We have the green zebra tomato, which is here. You can't really see it, but it's this one here. Obviously, that's germinated. It's already, you know, that was 7-dayer right there. Cherokee Purple is still doing good. Aunt Ruby's Green German is still doing good. We have a Green Cherokee, which is still doing good. We have a Black Crim, which is looking a little wilty, but maybe a little maybe some water will bring them back up. I didn't put a lot of water apparently in it. Artichoke Green Globe, still no germination. We have on shelf 17 is the cucamelons, which are, they were 7 days, they popped up. We have the eggplant long purple, which is definitely sprouted. We have the Casper green eggplant, which is, I see it sprouting right now. I see little tiny sprouts coming out of the ground. So I'm going to put that as 1.14.25. We got eyes on them. Eggplant Rosa Bianca, which is here. Obviously that is sprouted. Might have sprouted a couple days ago, but that's fine. But sometimes a lot of plants, you know, you'll see like a little bit coming out of the ground, you know, 5 p.m. on Monday, and then 5 p.m. on Tuesday, they look like that. Just, they took off during the day. Some plants are just quick that way. Eggplant Black Beauty, which is in the corner over here. That one's got growth on it, so we can put that down in the logbook. Okay. Then we have the candy cane. Now we have the peppers, which is in another shelf. So let's get these guys the watering they currently are demanding right now. Now you could overwater your plants in these trays if you water them every day. But currently at this stage, what I do is, now with the cover off, is when I go to water them, if they need the watering as heavy, they will get a full tray of watering, meaning that I'll fill it up right around the bags. The trays are all connected to one another, so it's not like that water literally stays in that tray and that tray only. It will migrate to the other trays and it will equal out as well. So it'll equal out completely in there, which is a nice feature. But it is also, you have to keep an eye on is how much of watering you're putting in. And like I said, on Thursday, which is only a couple days away, then I'll take a look and where we're at from here. As they go back to the shelf where they were. Continue, they're growing. Okay. Holy cannolis. Holy cannoli, he says. Oh. Myself a little bit of a mess over there. Well, I have a first. Not really. I do have a first. I have a first, a tray of peppers that we started growing this year. And this tray, if you guys can see, if I don't lose anybody, but everybody has sprouted. Extremely, extremely happy. You can see the variety of peppers that we have growing in here. Now, of course, if any of you are new to the channel, or you have been with the channel since I went from automotive to sustaining my future, I've learned throughout the years on how to build and rebuild vehicles. So I've mastered that. So I know in an apocalypse that I'll probably be the only one in my neighborhood, except for, like, well, 3 people that I know of that can rebuild a vehicle from the 80s and back to life in their garage in the winter. I mastered a lot of things in life. I studied a lot of things in school and college, and I'm always into learning something new. And this is like one of the biggest things that I've taken on, and I've ran with it. And I enjoy it because the amount of savings that I've made this past year alone, I was able to upgrade this area and my growing without actually breaking the bank. So this is a lot more affordable knowledge to acquire than it is to get knowledge of, you know, how to, you know, build solar panels. You know, solar panels are great, but they're not putting food on your table. I know I go off on tangents. Sorry. If you want to grow solar panels or make solar panels, you can grow them. That'd be really cool. I would love to see that. Elon Musk is growing solar panels. That's I would not be surprised if I saw that on TV. That would just not surprise me whatsoever. But anyway, so we have some stuff, like I said, like different things I bought, different things that I didn't think were going to grow, and things that I thought would grow, like the large cherry tomato. I was surprised that it hasn't taken off. And then there's like the 100-pound tomato. I'm not surprised it didn't take off. I feel like that's a Amazon gimmick. There's a lot of Amazon gimmicks out there, like the blue rose, for an example, or like the blue watermelon. You gotta watch out for those things. That's why when I saw the blue tomato, I was like, no. When I did research, it's not really blue. It's kind of like a purple, but more like an indigo. So it's not like a bright blue, which would be like really cool if it was like, you know, like that kind of blue. But even then, I'd be a little worried about eating it because, you know, like certain things in the wild, like animals, for an example, if you're in tropical countries like Madagascar, for an example, like don't eat the frogs that are bright colored because they're poisonous. Don't eat anything in the woods in Madagascar. Everything's poisonous. Anyway, so one of the first things I bought, it was the reason why I went off talking about that, is these things called candy cane peppers. Now, you guys can Google them. No, they do not look like a candy cane. That was the first thing I thought of, and it kind of goes back to the poisonous frog conversation. But it's a multicolored pepper. And apparently, all three of them have sprouted wonderfully. So, go figure, right? 1, 14, 25, and there's 3 of them I have. I'm going to have a whole lot of peppers. I even have peppers that are in my closet as well that eventually have to come out, and they have to start getting ready to be going outside, and then they go out into the garden. And that's what's cool with peppers, is you can overwinter your peppers. The only reason why I grew more peppers this year is because these peppers are peppers that I do and I don't have. Like the candy canes I don't have, and Anaheim I don't have, the Ikeo, the Serrano I don't have. Yeah, I think that's it. But I also didn't grow the ones like I do have, like the Scotch bonnets from Jamaica seeds. The seeds are from Jamaica. They're growing. They're going slow, but they're growing. So that's really cool. And then I got a couple of jalapeno plants that are in the closet as well. So that's why I didn't regrow those, because I already got them. So the Anaheim. I know I figured it out once before. I'm trying to remember how I figured it out, but I could have been a substitute teacher if I only studied more. Good at pronouncing words horribly. The Serrano, germinated, of course. The Maconi red pepper. We got 2 of those. This is awesome. The orange pepper. So the next one we have 2 of those. We have California Wonder Pepper. Got 2 of those. We got the Ikeo pepper. I think it's like a purplish pepper, if I'm not mistaken. And the California Wonder, I think it's like a reddish greenish tomato. I think it's a reddish tomato. I know I keep saying that, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to remember from when I was looking at them. And then we have the golden pepper. We got 2 of those as well. Now, for a lot of the peppers that we have here, like the Anaheim pepper, it's 80 days till harvest. So now the next thing that I do is I sit down and I go through the book on who has germinated, and I run right under their estimated harvest date on what date is their crop going to be harvestable at, estimated. So if it's like, July, that'd be great. June, July, let's say I write June, 3rd. Like, okay, so June 3rd comes around. Ooh, let me go look at the Anaheim, see what's going on with it. Oh, there's a big pepper on it. Let me grab it. Peppers, not at this point yet. They are going to need some water. They are currently still living under the dome because it keeps the moisture in around them. I don't like to bring them out of the dome yet until basically the way I run all my plants is once their leaves start touching the top of the lid, then I'll take the lid off. But at the current moment and stuff, I like to leave the lid on them until they get a little taller and they touch up. I'll give them a little bit of water because they're still going to retain that moisture better with the dome on top because it gives it the hot house effect. The problem with keeping it on versus keeping it off, with it off, it dries out quicker and it slows down their growth. With it on, it keeps them moist. It could keep them too moist, which causes mold, but then it makes them grow too quick. So it's that playing around game that you got to do. So you gotta really figure that out when you're growing stuff. That's why if you have a way of setting it up in an area that is a climate controlled environment like this is, works out great. If you're trying to do it in your garage, it's probably going to cost you more money. Unless you have a climate controlled garage, go all power to you, but you probably have, 1932 Jag in there, which I wouldn't blame you, versus having plants. So if you're going to put it in a garage, you would have to have heating lamps and stuff, and you're going to have a lot more heating issues. That's why I picked the spare bedroom of my house versus anything else. I know, which is always raised some eyebrows of people that I know that are like, well, what if you have kids? I'm not really planning on it. I got 2 cats, a turtle, and a mother. I think that's plenty. And probably like fucking a shit ton of plants. And this is like nothing yet. This is just like the start of the insanity. Insanity hasn't started yet. Okay. Let's give these guys a little bit of water. Like I said, they're going back under the dome, so not too much. But you also don't want them to dry out. And yet again, at this stage, I'm not adding any fertilizer at all, just because I don't want them to grow too quick. Still do not have temperatures that peppers like at all outside, so gotta be really careful on how quick they start taking off. Otherwise, we're going to be running into a massive comical situation here. Let me go toss that back on there. We're going to run down the 2 trays, and then this video is over, and that is it. Toss this back on the heating mat. Oh, come here there, buddy. Which hole? Which one were you in? You're in this guy, right? Yeah. On there. Alrighty. Okay. Tropical banana. My lemon and my lime are doing good. Lemon is still doing really good. Tropical banana is doing good. It keeps making more leaves. Some of the leaves die off as it gets a little taller. The lime is still doing good as well. And this other plant that we moved in here is doing pretty good. Doing a lot better than where it was. So that's a plus. And we have our yellow plums. As I talk about things that kind of start to go awry, this is a prime example of things that go awry. I don't know if I filmed it, I don't remember offhand, but I ended up actually putting more soil in here. I raised the soil level up to give them a lot stronger roots and stuff. So far I'm not seeing, the one thing I don't want to see right now is early flowering. But if I do, I'm just gonna roll with it and see what happens. I did add a little bit of, when I raised the soil, I did add some calcium on top, some eggshell, so that every time I water, we're getting eggshell in there. And they don't get the stage 2 fertilizer that I like to call it, which is the bone meal with the eggshell, with a little bit of JP's secret. Well, these lights here. JP's secret. I gotta stop saying seasoning in my head. Stuff. I'm gonna call him and be like, dude, you gotta change it to seasoning, all right? And this guy here, so once they flower, that's when they get the trifecta. This guy's a really cool, interesting journey. This celery started off as a seed, and the root ball system on it is huge. Like when I had to dig this out, it was 20 degrees outside, and it was looking a little wilted. All the leaves are laying on the ground, and I was like, no, I gotta rescue you. I started digging. And then digging, and then digging, and then at the bottom of this thing is like this long root system that was like, holy shit. So it's in a planter by itself, dead center, and hopefully that's enough for it to just stay here for the rest of the winter. And I really, really wish I wrote down when I planted this celery, because I would love to know how long this thing is actually living for. It's probably in the next 3 or 4 months, it will probably be about a year old. So if you have the ability to bring them in, or you have a place to put them if you can bring them in, or even a greenhouse or anything, obviously apparently there is a way to overwinter certain plants. Celery is definitely one of them. I know basil is another one, but basil, I brought them in a little too late, unfortunately. I do want to start growing some basil soon, but I got to make sure I don't overplant in here, because then I'm going to have a whole other issue. Because as more demand comes, then I don't have the room for it. Okay. You back to where you were. And right here next to you guys is one of the basils that is doing decently in here. I'm not harvesting anything from it. I'm just letting it try to grow. And then the 2 Scotch bonnets. And after that, that is it. They're going to get a little bit of watering. And I'm going to be getting out of this 72-degree room in here, because the sweatshirt and sweatpants are just not working for me in here. It is toasty. And anyway, guys, that wraps up today's video. This is Mike over here at Growtopia. Get out there and grow something. Start your seeds inside. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. Get out there and grow something. Comment below. This is Mike. Everybody have a wonderful rest of their week. Later.